on the move. Little dance step was good. Couple of bounces. Can take it himself and launch long. Inspirational.
Time ticking away. Stop it. For Silvani. What about that?
Mackay. Two in a minute. And they are dancing now, the Blues.
Almost Mackay. Walsh, here he is. Straightens up and has delivered. Is there nothing this young man can't do?
Hello and welcome to the Navy Blue Corner. I'm Ian. I am not joined by Lockie in today's episode, and we're doing something a little bit different. I know we're a Carlton channel, but a lot of other Carlton guys out there have been making these Supercoach leagues, doing a bit of a reveal. So we thought we'd do the same. And also a big reason why we are doing this is because we saw so many of these guys put out their Supercoach team. It got us thinking. Everyone in this community knows there is like 1,000 podcasts, 1,000 YouTube channels, people reporting on Carlton. We've got journalists, we've got personalities, we've got a lot. And we thought, what better way to connect everyone than making a Carlton Supercoach League? So we've got a bunch of people in there. And if you guys want, we can give details weekly on who's where on the ladder. And you guys can kind of watch along with it because, yeah, we just thought it'd bring everyone together, connect us, because some of us chat, but we thought it'd be such a nice way of actually getting to know all the other people in the Carlton community because no one's better than anyone else. We're all just fans at the end of the day. So, yeah, a bit of friendly banter, a bit of friendly competition. What better way to do that than with a bit of fantasy? So, with that, here I am to reveal our team, which I will chuck up on the screen here. And I'll take you through why we selected everyone we did. I'll try to make it nice and quick because Lockie and I actually recorded us making this team to start with, and it ended up going for about an hour. I know we can talk out of our backside sometimes, but that was ridiculous. And a lot of it came down to us debating because we've played Supercoach for a fair few years. We're pretty much veterans, I suppose, of this game with nothing to show for it. But we haven't played it for the last few years. And so we thought we'd come back and debate and try to get a team together. We've got our separate teams, which made it very difficult to try and put them together and make one. So let's go through it. We've got Jake Lloyd in our defense. Now, defense was one of the hardest parts to make structure-wise. There is no rookies. Anyone that is playing this season will know, good luck. We don't know if they're playing. We don't know if they're going to score. Half of our money is spent overspending on the rookies and having to get these lower mid prices into our backline. So that has really set us up here. And we've started with, I think he's the most expensive defender in the game, Jake Lloyd. There's been talk about him potentially not scoring as many points with his role changing in that backline. But I think he's still going to score incredibly well. And it really just makes the team look really special and really just amazing when you get those high guys in there, which is why we've selected him. Next in is Crisp, who should see a bit of an uptick in scoring, even though he is quite consistent, because he looks like he might be getting more midfield minutes. And again, we wanted to see these big premiums. We like selecting two of them rather than we've seen teams out there that have been Lloyd, Short, Ridley, and those kind of guys. We want to go big, and that's why you may see later in the team that we've maybe culled a bit of money elsewhere to get these big guns in there. Next up is Jaden Short, who this was a great discussion between me and Lockie, actually, because I was pretty against him. Had him last year after some preseason hype, and to be honest, he burnt me. He didn't score very well, and I ended up trading him out. I wasted a trade, sideways trading halfway through the season, but Lockie has convinced me. So if Short ends up being garbage, everyone, let's blame Lockie for that one. But he sold me because he told me that when Basher Hooley wasn't in the team, this man scores points. He was getting those tons, getting those high scores. And we've seen him in preseason and sometimes get those 130. So if he can get anything near that for his price, that's very exciting. So look, Jaden Short is into that team. Then we've got Lockie Whitfield. I don't need to say much on him. He's in every single team. I have not seen anyone not have him at that price. A guy that you know can score you those hundreds week in, week out. He's fit, doesn't have the injury concerns. He's not going to miss any time, fingers crossed. He's a lock. Then the next guy is George Hewitt. Look, we're a Carlton podcast. He has to be in there. the fact that there's not that many Carlton players in here, maybe we should be ashamed of ourselves. But George Hewitt, he speaks for himself. At that price, $3.99, we've got him in defense, which is bizarre. But we know for Carlton, he's going to be that midfielder. We saw what he did preseason game against Melbourne. He's dominant. We know he gets points from tackles that we didn't even see in that preseason game. He looks like he moves better than I thought he could, sprinting through that midfield, getting the handballs off. He's an exciting prospect that we see him scoring about 90. Absolutely lock him in there because, as I mentioned, we don't have those rookies we can normally chuck on field. So for a discounted price, you're getting a guy that's going to average at least 90, we believe, and you just got to put him in there. Now we get to chat a little bit about the rookies. We've chucked Hinge there, basically at a D6 in there, which, look, there's a bit of an injury cloud over him. I think he may have injured his shoulder. He's had injury issues previously, but he's probably the best of the bunch. Should score if he plays around about, I reckon, those 60s, 70s. Get him in there. Next is Paddy McCartan. He's actually on my bench he's actually on the field for my team, but we've managed to spend a little bit more to get a bit more security, which is great to have a guy 157 on the bench. We know we haven't overspend, and we know the concussion issues too. Will he play? Will he get injured? There's question marks, but we do have some cash in the bank. You can see up here. We've almost got 26K. So if there's any issues, if he doesn't line up round one, which is really with all the rookies, we've tried to keep the structure the same, but the rookies may be the ones that change come round one. But yeah, Paddy McCartan should score about 70, I reckon, if he plays. And then we got DeConning. It's not our TDK, it's SDK from Geelong. Really cheap at 123. Should play. And that's all I need to know. Scored all right in the preseason, which gets you excited. Into the midfield. This was another area where you can go so many different ways. You can go heavy on the premiums. You can go heavy on those mid prices. Cripper's another one. Sarong's another one. This is where we ended up. And I'll take you through what me and Lockie chatted about. Firstly, we wanted, like that defense, can we get the two most expensive guys in there? The ones we can rely on week in, week out. We may not be able to, have that money, have that cash generated to afford them come the buy because they may have already, kept that score ticking along. And McRae and Steele, they picked themselves. The big one was whether we went Touk or Steele. And I was eyeing off Touk, to be honest, after what he did in the preseason. And Jack Steele didn't score amazing. But maybe Jack Steele just took it lightly. He did preseason for fitness, rather than trying to get us to lock him into his fantasy sides. But Jack Steele has one of the easiest runs to start the season. He has Collingwood as well to kick off the first round. Jack Steele's going to make 130, 140 in that game. It's going to be ridiculous. So yeah, get those high-scoring primos in the midfield. Then we've got the guy everyone has in there, Lockie Neal, discounted, like a Lockie Whitfield. Chuck him in there. Don't have to say anything else. We saw his scores the back half of last year and in the finals. That's going to be the Lockie Neal we'll see this season. So put him in your teams. Then was the interesting part. We were floating the idea of having Big Rick in there because we think he can go big. But we're nervous and we've talked ourselves out of it. Both of us had Cripper in the last time we spoke in our individual teams. And then I reckon 2 days later, we talked about making this team. And both of us, we've chickened out. Cripper is not in our teams as it stands. We've gone for someone a little bit cheaper that may score a little bit less, but we just want that cash spent elsewhere. And that's why we've gone Matty Rao. Again, both of us were nervous like a Cripper. Is he going to get to his best? And even Matty Rao, we don't really know his best. We've seen about 3 good games and that's been it. But for his price at 342, we saw that game against Geelong in the preseason. And that's all you need to know. Matty Rao's back. We don't even need him to score the hundreds, which is the interesting part. If he gets to an 80, that's cash that is being generated. And the more I've tried to listen to the experts out there, that's all they've been talking about. It's the cash generation. And yeah, it'd be nice to have 4 amazing midfielders there that are all those high premiums or someone that can maybe go the 130s a bit more consistently. But sometimes you've got to spend a bit less to someone who knows can get you those high scores so you can pad out the rest of your team. So that's what we've done with Matty Rao. Now, There was a bit of debate on whether we do have Maddie in the team. There was no debate with Berry. Both of us are buying in. We are sold on him, probably because he's almost 100K cheaper. And Brisbane, it looks like they're changing up their midfield. A lot of the experts have said out there, the reason they didn't go all the way last year was their midfield was very one-dimensional. So they've got to get those dynamic players in there, the Cam Rainers, the Berries. So, yeah, we think he's going to attend a lot more of the centre bounces, get those midfield minutes, which when you can get him at almost like a rookie price, it's almost a no-brainer because I think there's a decent amount of rookies in the midfield that should play, but just knowing he's in their best 22 and you don't have to worry about it. He's a bit older. He's got that experienced body in there. Get Berry into your side. And then, yeah, I don't really need to touch on Horn Francis, Dacos, or Ward, all high draft picks, all expensive rookies that we know are locked in. Put them on your field. Don't even worry about it. Then comes the bench. I'll touch on it real quickly. You got Dylan Stevens, who in fantasy, which is what I tend to play, I keep bringing it up because I'm not used to all these cheap players because Dylan Stevens, I think he's like 500,000 in the other game, whereas Supers, he's 167. That immediately when I found that out, he was in my team. I think we're finally going to see this guy play. And yeah, I think Sydney, they just keep having so many good young players. He should be another one of them. And to have him on your bench as well, that's amazing cash generation. As we talk about, another Stevens is Cooper from Geelong. We know the jokes. We know that they are the retirement village of the AFL. So they need some youth. Surely Scott put some youth in this year, and Cooper Stevens seems like the number one candidate. 123,000, get him onto your bench. And then you got Connor McDonald, who, if you're a big fan of this channel, of this podcast, you will know that I talked about this guy in our draft preview for Carlton, and I said he was one of the players that I would have loved us to pick up. We didn't in the end. He's gone to Hawthorn, but I see him playing quite a lot in the early stages of the season, if not really most of the year. Should score okay as well, and he's one of the cheaper options in that midfield. But again, some of these guys on the bench, it's all up to whether they are actually selected round one, because I don't want to have anyone really on my bench that isn't going to be playing. There's no point wasting that money, not having them uptick in price. It's just silly, but that's what we've got at the moment. I've talked so much, I almost need a break here. It's interesting doing this without another partner here, but the ruck was where me and Lockie had the most debate. The obvious choice is, of course, your set and forget Grundy gone. And both of us have talked about bringing in a Timmy English type or someone that's cheaper. There was the talk about Bruce. Both of us chickened out of that pretty quickly. And now he's not even playing round one. So that made our decision easier. And look, in both of our personal teams, we've chickened out. We don't have the balls to do it. We've gone the set and forget. But we thought, mate, why don't we do something different? We're in this league. We want to try and win it. Let's go all out. So that's what we've done here. We've gone Timmy English. Now, the rucks, the discounted rucks. Many people are talking about trying to get someone cheaper. Is it a Rowan Marshall? You're not saving that much cash. Is it a Riley O'Brien? Again, we're not saving cash. Is it a Wits? Don't love it. Let me tell you right now why me and Lockie are so high on Tim English. One, no one has him. So an amazing pod in your team that no one else has, which we always love. I mean, our team's looking pretty cookie cutter, so we've got to throw someone wild out there, and that's why Tim is in there. If you look at his breakout year in 2020, averaged about 100 or so, should have taken that next step. He didn't, because I guess that year was a COVID year, a little bit shorter of a season. It's longer, the games are longer, but then they introduced a Stephen Martin into the team, and he was taking a lot of the rucks, and English was resting forward a lot of the time, which we looked up his age. Stephen Martin is 35. There is no way, surely, that in this season, when doggies need to go out in their prime, win the flag, that they're still playing a 35-year-old in ruck over their hot prospect, Timmy English. So, look, we think his floor is at least 90, but we honestly see him averaging about 105, which at his price would be amazing. And you might see next to his name there, he is a ruck forward. So I think the idea at this stage is we loved the potential of, hey, if we need to and we generate some cash, let's go up to Gawn. Let's bring him in. But why are we just getting rid of this guy if he's scoring well? Let's chuck him down into that forward line. And now if he averages around that 105, he's going to be one of the top averaging forwards. Another point of difference. And now he's in our forward line. We got the best of both worlds. So we love the pick. And really, it allowed us to spend a bit more in our back line for some security, get those mid prices and that second premium in his steal. And then again, pad out that forward line with these 250Ks that we'll talk about. And yeah, on our bench is Hazy from St. Kilda. It was a toss-up between him and Hugh Dixon from West Coast. We just see, I guess, Hayes scoring a little bit more at this stage, probably more in the ruck than down forward, which should be good for Supercoach scoring. And especially at 102, that's an amazing price. Now, we've got another one. Let's go into our forward line. Much like we talked about in the midfield and defense, we want the big names. That's Josh Dunkley. Lock him in. The debate was between him and Taranto, but I'm a little bit worried, and Lockie was as well. Neither of us have Taranto in our teams. The reason being, Toby Green is not playing the start of the season. We know he's got that suspension, and we know Cameron loves to play him forward. So that's the worry. Can Taranto score when he's down forward? And I know you can easily say that with Dunkley. Where's he going to play? Is he going to lose out to, a Libba coming back that we didn't see in the preseason game? Is Dunkley going to spend more time forward? But we just trust Dunkley a little bit more. Maybe it'll come back to haunt us, but we like the idea of having Dunks in there. Next one is in everyone's team. I don't need to say too much. Another one of those younger players. We're looking for those breakout seasons. And when you're doing that, for me and for Lockie, what we love doing is these real low risk takes where, he's in ridiculous amount of teams. Everyone's got Zach Butters. So if he doesn't take that next step, even though he should be playing in this midfield role now, doesn't matter. Everyone's got that problem. So seriously, with a Whitfield, with a Lockie Neal, with a Matt Rao, just go these guys because enough players are going to be doing it as well, that for us, it's just not that much of a risk. And it saves you a bit of coin instead of going for a Treloar, a Dusty, a Taran Thomas. Like none of these are nailed on, which is our issue in that forward line. It's why we don't have so many premiums. We didn't think any of them were 100% locked in to be perfect. Every single one you could find a fault with, like even Dunkley that I've spoken about. So we decided to try and spend cheap, but almost more because of some of the lack of rookies. And one of those is, of course, Canelio. Super cheap, 261. Another one of these guys that's in everyone's team. We've seen what he can do at his best, but we don't even need him to get to his best at that price, which is insane. He gets that 80 to 100. You're making enough cash to eventually go up. Or if he is scoring those hundreds and being at that high end of his ceiling, he stays in your team, which is for 261 to be getting someone that you believe will score hundreds. He looked good in the preseason, which I keep talking about. Lock him in. Then the contentious few picks here. There's so many guys in this 250 to 200 price range, and there's a few we didn't select. So I think I almost need to tell you why we didn't select those. You've got your Ralph Smith. He's probably on the lower end. We've almost compared him a little bit more to your Rochellis and your Durdens because we don't think the scoring output, his ceiling, is as high as a McGovern and a Brody. So it was either spend up in the Rochelle Durden section or save some cash. So Ralph Smith, not in the team. Next one, and probably the one that I was fighting hard for to be in this team, is in mine, is not in Lockie's, was Tristan Jerry from North. Don't know if that's how you pronounce his name, but that's all you're going to get, mate. Tristan Jerry, you're not in the team. I'm not learning how to pronounce your name. He's a ruckman for North. Everything I was trying to convince Lockie was saying that, mate, he's the number one ruck in all preseason in the match sims, in the preseason games. Goldie's resting down forward. He's the future. They're trying to blood the youth in. But it's the issue of Coleman Jones. When he comes in, he's surely best 22, particularly because they got him out of Richmond where he wasn't happy, he wasn't playing games. So, Coleman Jones is then that ruck forward. Are you telling me they just throw Goldie away? or are they playing the 3 rucks? It's an interesting situation, and that's probably where Lockie turned my head and made me go, maybe he is too risky in that forward role because job security maybe isn't 100% there. But maybe that comes back to haunt us. I don't know. A couple of these players, maybe we're going to panic sideways trade come into the first few games after we see a bit of a roll. But yeah, we've decided maybe a bit more of job security for a few of these guys. And that's why we went Gov. Let me take you through this. We're very high on a Mitch McGovern. And of course, we were lacking those Carlton players because, as I said, we didn't go Cripper in that midfield. We were a little bit worried. Will he really take it? We may as well save some cash and go on Matty Rowell instead. But at Gov, he's got this new defensive role. We saw him intercept. We love to get the ball in his hand, which is very exciting. And he takes kick-ins, which is just 3 points as well. There's a lot to love about him. We think he has that ceiling to get near those hundreds like those good intercept markers. But we're not necessarily expecting him to go that high. I think anywhere, honestly, from 85 to 90, 95 is ridiculous for someone priced at 256. I haven't seen many people go him. Maybe it's because he's got the name Mitch McGovern, but we're Carlton supporters, so we've got to support our own. So he is definitely in that team because I guess compared to some of the others at that price range, if he's fit, he's locked into that team. He's playing week in, week out. We love our job security. Then Will Brodie. He was the real one that it was him or Jerry. And I think I almost convinced Lockie on this one just because bit more of that midfielder, which we know can just accumulate so many points. And the CBAs were there in preseason. The caveat to that was that Nat Fyfe wasn't in there. The issue being when he comes in, who's missing out? And Brodie's probably the one. But I honestly think, and maybe this is just me, why would you bring a guy across when you've lost Chera? You're trying to get the youth in there. Mundy surely can't play as much as he did around the ball. We know Fife's role is already forward. It's not like Goldie where you're playing him into this new forward role. We know that Fife splits time. I see Brodie, taking those CBAs that are left by Chera, or at least enough of them, to at the price of 224, surely scoring at least around that 80 mark, which is amazing. And if not more, I think he genuinely can be a 90-ish player most weeks if he's in there. He's an inside bull. He's a bit more of that kind of Matty Kennedy type where he's just going to be in there and win the footy. So I think at that price, it's a no-brainer over, I guess, a Jerry, who there's almost more question marks, which, Lockie definitely, I think, helped me. We sort of convinced ourselves to go Brodie over him. Now, onto our final few rookies. I'll try and make this quick. Rochelle, listen to Pommy and Oz. If you don't listen to that man, he was spruiking about him all last season in the under-18s. He brings X Factor. He's going to be the spark in Adelaide's forward line. They're not going to kick many goals, but he will. He'll kick a couple every week. He loves to tackle, loves to bring pressure. Lock him into your team. You have to pay up a little bit for these guys, but he's someone that you definitely should because job security is there, should play pretty much every game. Then we went to our bench. I'll skip one of them. I'll go to Martin. He was really he's so cheap. Let's see what he looks like in our team. Can we spend some other cash? Again, he may not play round 1, but he was good in preseason, plays that wing half forward role for Essendon. Pains me to talk about them, but I think he could be really good. Wouldn't surprise me if he starts round 1. But again, if he doesn't, we've got a bit more cash to play with that we've left in bank, just in case these rookies don't play. But we liked the idea of, can we just get the cheapest guy in this game on our bench? And it let us select the next guy because, Hugh Dixon was probably the main person that I had in my team on my bench going into this. But we love our Carlton players. And again, what's going to happen with West Coast? They get some players back. Is he going to be in there? You know who is? Corey Durden. I've hyped him up. If you've listened to anything on this channel, I've said he's going to be our second highest goal scorer. And Carlton recently, I think, depends when this video comes out, but the other day, Carlton released this clip of all the players. They were asking them questions. Who's the hardest to tackle? Who's going to be the most improved? Who are the coaches loving? I reckon every single answer to every question they asked, 90% of the teammates were going, yeah, it's Corey Durden. It's Durds. This kid is going to be something special. And not a lot of people outside of Carlton know it, which I think is the exciting part. And it's the reason we wanted him on that bench as a rookie, that I think if we needed to, you could have him on the ground. He might not maybe score heaps, but I think he's going to be reliable in the fact that he's going to play every single week. He's going to kick you a couple of goals. I see him being that 40, 50 a week guy that you can have for the whole season in case, like, he's going to make money, but everyone else around him, you may be trading in and out. And he's that last rookie to go just because there's those COVID. We don't know what's going to happen. There could be a lot of players in and out. You need a bit more job security. Corey Durden is our Carlton man. So look, that is our team. Look, we want to know if you guys have enjoyed this kind of clip, because we may cover some more Supercoach throughout the season. As I said, we've got this Carlton League with a bunch of podcasts and things out there. So if you guys want to know what's going on weekly, who's winning, who ends up taking out the chocolates at the end, let us know. We might post some updates. And if you've enjoyed the Supercoach content, if this has been at all entertaining, and I know it's just me, not Lockie, so maybe it's not as good as normal, but we may chat about this every week, maybe on a separate episode away from the pods, letting you know what trades we're going to be doing and updating on this team. Because, look, I'll be honest, we're competitive beasts here at the Navy Blue Corner, and we want to win this league. I know it's just for a bit of fun. There's not too much riding on it. We feel like our pride is. So we're going to need all the help we can get. So let us know what you think of this team. Let us know what your teams are so we can just, I guess, steal some players maybe. But let us know what we're not doing right. Who would you rather see here? Have a bit of a debate in the comments, because, again, we want you guys a part of this because we need to win. And the Navy Blue Corner faithful, we're going to win this for you guys. And I guess the last thing I'll touch on, because this video has already gone a little bit longer than I wanted it to, is we've seen some of these guys that do amazing Carlton content. They've chucked out a couple of Supercoach League codes for you guys to join if you play Supercoach yourselves. Now, we weren't sure if there was actually going to be one interest for this video, but we've decided to chuck it out anyway, or actual interest for a Supercoach League. So again, we need you to hit those comments, like and subscribe as always, because it helps us out to know that you like the content. So if you want to be part of one of these Supercoach Leagues and battle this team, you think you can beat us? Drop it in the comments and we'll definitely make a league. We'll chuck it out on the socials. But again, we just need to know if there's the interest, because the worst thing we'd want to do is make a code and we're the only ones in the league. So look, that is going to wrap it up. I hope you've enjoyed something a bit different on this channel. We're branching out. We're doing new things. But in our next one, Lockie will be back. It won't just be me shouting at you for half an hour. Back to the regular scheduled programming. Thanks for sticking with us in this one. See you guys next time.